Hey everyone, Bill Sheridan with the MACPA. I want to talk about XBRL today. And usually the XBRL discussion revolves around large public companies and the transparencies and efficiencies that large companies derive from using XBRL to file their financial reports. Smaller companies are starting to see some of those very same benefits. And I'm talking about private companies, not-for-profit organizations, governments. They're all starting to dive into that XBRL pool and experience some of those same benefits that the larger companies are experiencing from using XBRL. And at the MACPA, we've been talking about XBRL for a number of years now. Finally, we've decided to actually put our money where our mouths are and use XBRL to tag our own financial data and see where some of those benefits lie from a small nonprofit point of view. So we put together a team that's been doing just that. Skip Falacco, our Director of Finance, has been kind of leading that effort. Skip is, by his own admission, not a big tech guy, so we went out to Salisbury University, found an accounting student there with an extensive tech background, who actually did a lot of the heavy lifting for us from the tech point of view. That student's name is Thomas Hood, and in the interest of full disclosure, Thomas is the son of our CEO, Tom Hood. Thomas graciously volunteered his services so that he could learn a little bit about XBRL as well and take that knowledge with him. Also on the team, Eric Cohen, who is no less than one of the co-founders of XBRL. He really helped us out and talked us over some of the rough parts of the project and brought a lot of that experience to this particular initiative. And then we also had the folks from Altova, the makers of the software that we actually used to do this. So we're going to hear from all four of those principals right now. I had a chance to sit down with all of them at our Maryland CPA Summit recently in Baltimore. So in order, you're going to hear from Skip Falacco, our Director of Finance, followed by Thomas Hood, Beth O'Brien from Altova. She's going to talk about it from their point of view. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with Eric Cohen. And they're just going to tell you a little bit about why we decided to do this, what the benefits are from a small company point of view, and why this project is important, because we believe it is. It kind of builds a blueprint of sorts for the way that smaller private companies, not-for-profits, can use XBRL to their own benefit as well. So let's hear what they have to say. Skip, tell me what we're doing at the MACPA with regard to XBRL and why.
Sure. We are tagging our own financial statements and financial information with XBRL tags, and we became interested in XBRL about 3 years ago through a PwC partner by the name of Mike Willis, and he connected us with some folks at Microsoft, and they at the time tagged our financial statements, our summarized audited statements, with XBRL tags, and we helped with that process by inserting our financials into the commercial and industrial taxonomy, which wasn't an easy process, but Microsoft did the hard part, which was tagging our financials for us, and that was interesting and good, but we didn't learn a lot about the technology. And so more recently, Thomas Hood, who's an accounting intern and student at Salisbury University, who has an excellent background in technology, has come on board as an intern and been able to learn the Altova software that we use for tagging our financial information with XBRL tags. And so he's sort of helped us with the whole process. I'm not a technology person. I'm a CPA and finance director. Not really, I don't have any kind of technology background. So he was able to learn the software and get our information tagged. And so we're in the process of doing that. And typically, in the U.S., XBRL has been used by the SEC, who requires public companies to file using XBRL. And the main benefit for public companies is to allow analysts to compare multiple companies more efficiently than they used to be in the past when everything was paper-based. With XBRL, you can grab information, and the information retains its tags across different computer systems. So, but there are other benefits to XBRL that can take place, and we're trying to use some of those other uses and benefits of XBRL internally. For instance, we are using XBRL to in an automated way, populate some of our financial reports, some of our key performance indicator reports that in the past would typically be done a month or two after quarter end or year end when we had time to get around to it. And so we're using it to, in a much quicker, faster, better, cheaper way to enhance our reporting capabilities and populate various reports. We've even talked about the possibility of populating the Form 990, which is the annual nonprofit tax return that we fill out every year, or actually our auditors fill out every year. But we talked about the possibility of automating that so that the report can be generated by a push of a button, which would be, we think, pretty cool. So we're trying to use the technology in ways that are different than what public companies are using it for currently, we think, just to achieve internal efficiencies and make the flow of information better, quicker, less expensive for us.
So some pretty powerful examples there of the benefits of using it. What kind of challenges have you met along the way?
Well, I think the main challenge is figuring out the technology, and we sometimes joke if you want to tackle a technology project, go find a teenager, and we were able to find Thomas Hood, our intern, who has excellent skills with technology. And so for me, if I had to learn the technology on my own, that might be an insurmountable challenge, but he was able to master it and figure it out, and he's done a lot of productive things in the short amount of time he's worked on it in getting the information tagged.
From the MACPA's point of view, from a very small business point of view, what kind of lessons have you learned or taken away from this experience?
Well, one lesson I would say was in our initial effort with Microsoft 3 years ago was that our financial statements didn't fit the commercial and industrial taxonomy very well, and it made me think that nonprofits or associations or both need their own taxonomy, that the financial statements of a nonprofit association are somewhat unique and need to be structured within its own taxonomy. And I guess that was one bit of learning that we had. The other was that XBRL would be an excellent application for the nonprofit community. There are about 1.5 million nonprofits in the U.S., and I don't know the exact number, but probably hundreds of thousands of them file a 990 every year. And if the IRS required nonprofits to file using XBRL, that would greatly increase and improve accountability, transparency, comparability in the nonprofit world, so that you would have a much easier approach toward comparing different nonprofits and picking numbers out of nonprofits than you do currently, which is PDF-based, paper-based, where you've got to kind of dig out information on your own and compile it in a manual kind of way. So I think those are the two big sort of ahas we've gotten out of this process so far.
So Thomas, tell me what your role was in this project. What were you tasked with doing?
My role was a more technical role. It involved really using XBRL Global Ledger to, I guess, integrate a automated system into MACPA. And it first started about a year and a half ago when I was introduced to Eric Cohen through my father and Skip. And Eric Cohen, he's from PricewaterhouseCoopers. He's one of the original co-creators of XBRL, and he's one of the authors of XBRL Global Ledger, which is the less talked about of the two types of XBRL. The other being XBRL GAAP, or the financial reporting XBRL, which is what all public companies now have to file in with the SEC. So the main purpose of our, I guess our case study or our adoption of XBRL was to really highlight the flexibility and usability of XBRL Global Ledger, even at a smaller level company such as MACPA. And So I was tasked with working with Skip and Lars Swan to make sure we're getting all the correct accounting data and to make sure it's being represented correctly in XBRL Global Ledger.
Did you have any experience with XBRL before all this began?
Nope. No, we kind of just jumped into it. Eric Cohen helped us a lot with kind of understanding what we can do with it, and he gave us a good insight of where we can take it. And so we're now in the process of really seeing some benefits from automated key performance indicator packages that we're now able to populate from using XBRL Global Ledger data straight from the database, and it goes right into those key performance packages. And again, this used to be a manual process, which took time. It had to be done by hand, copying from one spreadsheet to another. So there's room for human error, and XBRL Global Ledger allowed us to cut all that out. Yeah. Now it's one streamlined process.
What kind of lessons have you taken away from all this? What were your kind of big, ahas as you kind of worked through this project?
Well, I guess the biggest aha is XBRL Global Ledger is key. It's again, it's the less talked about type of XBRL out there, but it provides the most power. And I guess just our ability to take this in-house and implement it and see benefits fairly quickly at a pretty low cost really kind of made us see, wow, that Global Ledger is real. It's here, and it can really help. And it can help the bigger companies file their financials in year end. It has built-in capabilities for rolling up into those line items. So it was really interesting to kind of understand that technology a lot better and get our hands on it.
So Beth, first of all, tell me what Altova's role was in this XBRL project that the MACPA is doing.
The MACPA actually used our software development tools to kind of create their vision. So our XML SPY, Style Vision, and MapForce tools were used in the project.
And why, from your perspective, why do you think this is a particularly important project that the MACPA is kind of undertaking?
Well, as everyone knows, the public companies are required to use XBRL for reporting their financial information to the SEC. And the SEC's reasons for having them do that is because it increases transparency, it's more efficient, everyone's on a standardized format, and all of those benefits can also be extended to smaller and nonprofit companies as well. But that's a big step for a lot of small companies, and MACPA actually showed that not only could the benefits of XBRL extend to some of these smaller companies, but they brought the project in-house, cost efficient, did the project very cost efficiently, did it quite well, and were able to really share the results. They were able to really show some tangible results by using the XBRL as far as efficiencies and filling out forms and being able to crunch some more of the numbers and more frequently than they have been done in the past. So there's actually very tangible benefits to their use of XBRL.
So this could actually be kind of I don't know, maybe a blueprint of sorts for other smaller companies.
Absolutely. I mean, most companies have, might have different requirements, but the process is the exact same thing. Translating into XBRL allows you to repurpose that information for a variety of causes, and some of those depending on the organization. But the process is exactly the same. It's a model case study, basically. It's a really great example.
So Eric, why do you feel that what the association is doing with XBRL is important at this point?
Bill, there's a whole bunch of reasons that this is important, a whole bunch of reasons that I really appreciate what's going on. First of all and foremost is the whole issue of scope. People have an idea of what XBRL is, the articles you read, and again, it's so important with what's going on with the SEC and the mandates, and so people think, well, XBRL is all about big companies doing their public company filings with the SEC, that it's all about transparency to the marketplace, it's all about helping regulators regulate and the market consume data. And there's really this feeling in the marketplace that there's no value for the companies themselves, and they keep saying, what's the value statement? It's a compliance burden. And I think that what is being proven here is that it's an awful lot more than that. From the beginning, we've said that XBRL is supposed to be a win-win-win situation, that every party that's involved in the business information supply chain is going to come away better from this collaboration. And that's been the organizations whose information is being shared with the outside, auditors and others who touch it, and people provide the value add on it, the people who rely on it, and others. And an awful big part of that business reporting supply chain, a big part of creating a new seamless audit trail, a virtual connection from beginning to end, of actually changing the processes that have become so archaic at this point, is meeting the needs of companies on the inside. The financial statements, the tax returns, that's the tip of the iceberg. Improving the data flow on the inside, helping companies get the information that they need to operate better, so that you've got better numbers, better operations, and better things going out and being shared, is really what XBRL has always been about. So it's about that scope. It's proof to the marketplace that there is more to XBRL than financial statements, that it is about improving internal efficiencies, that there is value to companies, not-for-profits, government entities, anyone who has trade documents coming in, information moving around, being relied upon for management reporting and operations, being prepared for folks on the outside. This is really the proof that that's the case. So moving from just the focus on financial statements to a broader range of data, moving from the focus on public companies to a not-for-profit. So along with just that change in the scope, another really important thing is that there's an awful lot of people who said, Eric, when is XBRL GL going to be built right into all the accounting software products? That's when it's as transparent as electricity or dial tone, that's when we're willing to work with it. And thanks to Thomas and Skip, they've proved that with the existing systems, with off-the-shelf software that's easily available, you don't have to wait. You can do this, you can get at the efficiencies right now with easily available software. Skip likes to joke that if you need something done, get a teenager, and Thomas is certainly a little bit older than that, although not much more. But we're not talking about needing to bring in crews of heavily experienced, PhDs in computer science. This is something that we have the evidence that you get the right people with some computer savvy, people who know the internal information, people who are willing to learn XBRL GL, and you can do some amazing things. So the scope issue, the no needing to wait, and then I just appreciate so much the MACPA and being an example. So much of what's going on in XBRL, which began with CPA in his basement in Tacoma, Washington, and me sitting in my living room, and I've graduated to my basement for all that's worth. But something that began with some CPAs leading the market and saying that we need to help in this area. So here is the profession taking a stand, being leaders, being an example to other CPAs, helping them see the way so that we can take this changing business information environment and not just have to react to it, but act to turn into what we want it to be, to actually be the innovators and show that we're the innovators that we are. The CPA vision talked about making sense of a changing and complex world, and again, this is just a great example of showing how the profession can do that.